Hey, thank you for joining this video. I'm hoping that you'll find this video is very helpful. That is my goal every time I go to do one of these. I'm hoping that you find value, that you can change your life, because I can't change it for you. You're the only one that can actually do this. This time we're talking about what to do if you are upside down on a car. This can happen so easily to everyone. So you buy a car, the car goes down in value, your payments do not keep up with the loss of value. A brand new car will lose about 60 to 70% of its value in the first 3 years. That's a pretty terrifying number. Let's say you have a $20,000 car, which is actually pretty cheap for a new car. That car is going to be worth $12,000 less. Now your $20,000 car is only worth $8,000. Well, your payments wouldn't have kept up with you, therefore you end up owing more than what the car's worth. So what happens to most people? Now that they've got themselves in that situation, it seems like it might be a good idea to get into a different car. So you go down to the car lot. Most of the focus at the car lot is actually going to be on your payment. You end up driving away, you feel pretty good, you got a little bit of a lower payment, maybe your payment went up a little bit, but all in all, it seems about the same. What has happened in the background, though, is you've rolled all of that negative equity and put it into your new deal. So you didn't end up ahead, you actually carried negative equity forward. 2 deals later, you might find yourself $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 upside down, and now how do you get out? Well, I'm hoping you've caught it a little bit before that, but if you are in that situation, there's still hope. And here's what you're going to have to think about. What is the least I can do as far as transportation goes, and what's the most I can do to pay this off? It is twofold attack, so if you can, you should absolutely sell this car. What you need to do is you need to find a buyer, and then you would take that amount of money and you would give it to the bank, and you would also probably have to get a loan for the balance. Now you say, Ken, you just said take a loan. Yes, I said take a loan, but you didn't take out new debt. You already owed that money on the car. All I'm trying to do is shrink the amount of debt you owe so it's something you can manage and get rid of. I'll play out a scenario for you. You owe $15,000 on your car. It's worth about $10,000. So if you have decent credit or a good relationship with your bank or credit union, you should be able to go to them and talk them through this. You say you've already gotten a $5,000 unsecured loan because the car's not worth the $15,000 I owe. So help me out here. I want to get rid of this car and I want you to write a loan for the $5,000. I will pay that off to you. Buyer's going to give me $10,000 and then you release the title. If you're with a huge mega bank, this is probably not going to happen for you. You may have to just go get a $5,000 loan ahead of time to be able to pay this off. If you work with a local bank or credit union, you will find that they are often able to work with you on this. The day of the sale, you probably would actually meet at the bank so that the seller can make the check out to the bank and now you can get the title. I actually personally bought a van like this. The seller owed about $7,000 on it, and I had negotiated a deal for around $5,000. We actually met at the bank. I brought the $5,000 with me. The seller had already told the bank they want to sell the car. So that day the title had been transferred to that branch. We met there. They brought in cash. They actually were able to pay off the rest of it. Got the title, gave it to me, and I gave the $5,000 to the bank. The deal's done and off we go. So this really can be done. If you don't have that much value in your car, you may not have any point to selling it. This starts to break down if you have a $10,000 or $15,000 car and you don't have much room in your numbers, because you're probably going to end up with a $5,000 or $6,000 car after the deal is done. So you probably can't do it at that rate. But as soon as you start getting up above that $15,000, it starts to make a lot of sense to look at this. 2 guidelines for you. You never want to own more vehicle than half of your annual income. And that's all vehicles in your household, including lawnmowers, cars, Jeeps, 4-wheelers, anything with 4 wheels and a transmission. Or actually I should say motor, not a transmission. This is really important because if you have all of those things that are going down in value and you're trying to go up in overall wealth, you're going to lose out here. So it's really important to make sure that you don't have too much tied to those things that are going down in value. The second point for this one is that you want to be able to pay it off in 2 years or less. If you're not able to do that, you either need to get rid of a car, maybe you go down to one car, or you do what I talked about with selling the vehicle, going to something a little less. Here are a few quick pointers if you haven't watched the car buying video. You want to make sure that when you're buying a car, you focus on mechanics and not just beauty, particularly if you're in a scenario where you're trying to limit how much you're spending on the car, you just need transportation. Look for things like estate sales, classified postings at retirement homes, things along that nature, even the good old newspaper ad, because what you're trying to do is find grandma's Sunday driver. You're not looking for a teenager's burned out WRX. And where does grandma still think you advertise a car? She thinks that you advertise it in the local penny saver, if that's what you have near you. She thinks that you advertise it on a billboard out of the old people's home. And maybe she passed away. Now it's at an estate sale. Those are the areas you really want to be focused on. Again, don't focus on beautiful. You're looking for that older Buick that has lots of life left, but it maybe isn't as fancy as what you were hoping. I have a little story about this. My parents, who are now getting to be a little bit older in age, they're not old by any means, were looking for their latest vehicle. They found a Buick from an older lady who is no longer able to drive. They were able to pick up the car. I think it had like 50 or 60,000 miles on it for like $2,000. It has served them really well. It actually does half decent on gas mileage and everything. So I find that this is one of those opportunities where you can really make a big shift. Get rid of that expensive car. Don't reduce the payment, but keep the amount of debt smaller and drive something simple to get you through. I think that you'll find that if you follow a few little simple tips like this, you can get out from underneath your car and you can get on with your wealth building goals.